Hey guys, should be live when everyone joins. Here we go. I'm just waiting on Pete to join. Yeah. Here he comes.
How you doing?
Pete boy, how are you?
Not bad, mate. Not bad.
Good to see you again. Long time no speak.
I know. Yeah, brilliant.
How's lockdown treating you?
It's fine. Aye. Just getting on
Keeping
with
busy?
Aye, very. Aye. Just getting on with lots of projects that I kind of put in the back burner. So
Yeah.
and
Good
some
chance.
new projects as well. You?
Good. Yeah, just keeping busy, doing some stuff in the coach now, just keeping in touch with the clients and doing all the map golf stuff. So, keeping busy. So we'll just wait for a few more people to join in. I see a few folk are starting to join in. Some of them are your guys, I think. And just scrolling through. Just make sure all the audio is okay for the guys watching in. Post guys down below. Anything you want covered. Pete, if you don't know, do you want to just start off giving your little introduction, Pete? So tell them how you got into the golf industry, where you're based, and kind of your whole gig.
Yeah, I kind of transferred my career it must be about 11, 12 years ago now. I was a project manager in IT, changed my whole career, went and studied at Elmwood, now SRUC with you, Murray, to become a golf coach. I wasn't interested in becoming a player. I wasn't good enough. I played off 2-3 handicap, but I was interested in coaching. Did the degree with you and did the performance degree, and then I went off and started coaching commercially in Edinburgh. So I did coach at Craigmillar Park. Now we've got a custom built range there with a club fitting studio, phenomenal range there now at Swanston, just on the edge of the city bypass in Edinburgh. And full-time coach, and I've now got a Masters by Research as well. Just finished a Masters by Research last year, and that was kind of looking at what Scottish European Tour players, their kind of experiences on tour, and how that compared to their development as well, and the things that helped them and things that maybe hindered them as well, and some of the stuff they got up to on tour.
Perfect. So a lot of that was, were you interviewing players and a bit of mixture of
both?
So
I interviewed five current Scottish European Tour players and 2 former European Tour players, and that was so varying from experience from 1 year on tour to 11 years on tour. The best interviewed 11 years on tour, been top 50 in the world, and won 3 times on tour. So kind of a whole varied. Another couple of journeymen and a few guys that had played 5-6 years on tour as well. So
okay. What was the general consensus from that then? What was the research you found? What was the kind of findings?
Well, kind of. I suppose I wouldn't say my speciality are like. I've got a coach education business as well with our former lecturer Graham McDowell.
Yeah.
Called golfotech.com, and we've got about 300-400 coaches in there now. And speciality is more on practice and kind of learning environments. So what I've found, that's kind of what the Masters was on about. How the environment shapes behaviour. So the main things were that the 5 current European Tour players all talked about how the Scottish elite amateur stuff did not prepare them for tour life.
Yeah.
Specifically because the golf courses weren't the same.
Okay. In what regard?
So when you looked at the actual data, it was like 50% there or thereabouts of golf courses were links golf courses and the Scottish kind of elite am stuff, and even the UK based stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas if you look at the European Tour, some years it's less than 5% of links golf courses.
Yeah.
So what they all talked about was that the way they hit a golf ball and the behaviours on the golf courses they grew up on or competed on, basically you had to hit shorter and more accurate because the boundaries were so tight, very windy. You had to hit lower as well, versus they all talked about having to hit ball high and far now on tour. And 3 of the current European Tour players that interviewed talked about how if they hadn't gone to America, they would not be on tour at the moment.
Right, that's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and the most successful guy I interviewed, who I said earlier on, won 3 times the tour, former top 50, he actually had quite a successful amateur career and tasted pro life when he was an amateur, and realised quite quickly that the environment he was going to or trying to get to, pro life, the amateur circuit was not conducive for him to transfer well, basically the golf courses.
Yeah.
So he delayed turning pro and actually moved to America for 2.5 years to train on the golf courses that were more like tour golf.
Wow. Did he play like mini tours, or did he just play?
I think he played a bit mini tours. I don't think he finished his college degree, but he did a bit of collegiate stuff as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. How's all that stuff kind of affected the way that you implement that into your own teaching then?
That's a great question.
Especially like your elite players.
Yeah, the elite players definitely having a look at how far they hit the ball. You know, had one guy about 18 months ago who'd been teaching for a bit, and he said his ultimate goal was to get to European Tour, but his swing speed was 103 miles an hour, so he just didn't hit the ball far enough. But he'd grown up on a links golf course. He'd grown up in Gullin, short, tight golf course, and we had to get the speed up. We had to find out. Well, we've got him up to about 112, 114 miles an hour with the driver, which is about tour average.
And what kind of stuff, if you don't mind, was it just purely technique, or is it stuff in the gym?
A bit of exercise, but a little bit of both. But we topped him out about 118, 119, but it wasn't functional. And essentially we just sat down one evening in a lesson and looked at what the long drive guys did. And we gave them options. So we just put up TrackMan the club head speed first. Okay. And we looked at what the long drive guys do. So it was 4 options we gave them: bigger turn, higher hands in the backswing, faster backswing on the backswing, and on the downswing it was kind of like squatting a bug with the left foot at the initial start of the downswing, and we just played about. We didn't do them all 4 at the same time, and he had access to a TrackMan as well, so he was sending me reports of trying this out. You know, see which one works best. A lot of trial and error, and what seemed to work best, or did work best for him, was higher hands and a bigger turn.
Okay. Yeah. I noticed this on the comment section there that is quite relevant to what we're talking about there, Pete. Rue McDonald's just said, how important is it that elite golfers are surrounding themselves with other elite players?
Love that. I just listened to the podcast with Daniel Berger, and they were talking about how he grew up with. He grew up in a golf course where there was 4 or 5 PGA Tour players. Yeah. And he felt, and he was competing all the time with them, and he felt when he got to college that it really helped him because, quite frankly, he felt like the standard was far lower than what he was used to competing at when he was home. Yeah. And I mean, massive. I'm just going through a lot of stuff with Tiger at the moment. You look who he learnt from. He learnt from Nicholas, Palmer, Seve, Olazabal, a little bit Norman, because if you look who Butch Harmon was teaching at the time. Yeah. So, and he's went on record and said that, you know, he and asked a lot of these guys. So I think massively so, like playing with better players. I mean, we're going to think you're going to ask this question anyway, but it's really a challenge point. If you are, I remember having a mini tour player a few years ago, and he was playing with 5 handicappers all the time. And I was like asking him, did it push him? And he was like, not really, it doesn't feel anything. And I was like, well, you need to go and like compete and even understand what level these guys play at. And definitely with the better players, I push them to go and find better players and sometimes help them with that. Yeah, massively so. Because I mean, if you talk about a fancy word called self-efficacy, basically in psychology, I think that means basically you've done it in training, so you know that you can do it in performance, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you've beaten a tour player in training, it gives you like a little bit more of a
yeah,
doesn't it? I remember taking a mini tour player. He was a Scottish international essentially at the time, to play with a guy who was, I think he'd just come off the European tour. He was on Challenge Tour, and we went and played 18 holes at the Fairmount. And I can remember Ryan saying, like, he's not that, he's not as good as I thought he would be.
Yeah. It's a bit like the guys back in the day playing for money they really couldn't afford to play for. So when it comes to the tournament, and they feel like, well, hold on a second, I don't really have that much on the line here. All I can do is really win or gain money. And the entry fee is so small, it becomes obviously a better environment to play in.
I think also as well, when you're talking about that, it's not just about that kind of pushing the level or challenge point. It's more also, you should be picking up information as well from these guys, tips and hints from players that are better than you. I talked about, I did a course management thing last night to my clients. And one of the slides was, I can remember a podcast by Chris Trevino, former mini tour player, and he talked about how the best players that he'd played with were greedy bastards. They were greedy for information. Yeah.
Right.
And specifically, like, I'll give you examples of that. We've highlighted this in the book that we've written, kind of coming out in July with a couple other guys, where Tiger last year talked in an interview after winning the Masters, and he talked about going to the 12th tee and how he'd picked up from Brooks Koepka the sound of his shot and heard that, he'd seen it go in the water, and he heard that he struck it well, and he'd played with Brooks a lot and knew that his ball flight was slightly lower, and so he was like, something must be going on up there that we're not seeing.
Yeah.
And then interestingly, I heard Brooks talk about this a couple of days ago on Instagram Live, where he talked about he did strike it well in the 12th, but he purposely didn't react because he teed off first, purposely didn't react so that his playing partners wouldn't figure out if he struck it well or not, just to confuse them.
Yeah.
Right? And so to me, I think that your super elite guys are really kind of switched on and attuned to the environment and pick up lots of stuff that you or I wouldn't,
Yeah.
And another example of that was reading a book about Tiger at the moment for the 1997 Masters, where he talked about, you remember when he went out in 40, the night, you probably weren't even born then.
Nice. No, I do remember it though, yeah.
So
you must be
he went out
40,
and then he's on the 13th and he's got a putt for eagle, about 20-25 footer, and it's down the kind of front right, the green.
Yeah.
And he said he'd been watching videos, he'd had access to the Golf Channel and been watching videos of people making putts on that green and how often they overread it. So
right, okay.
He talked about how he read it on that day, a few inches left, and actually took a couple inches off it, maybe 4 inches left, I can't remember exactly, and took a couple inches off it because of what he'd seen from watching videos of guys hitting that putt and hold the putt.
Yeah. And that's what the guys say about the British Open, they've got coverage from 6:30 in the morning until 8 at night. The guys are teeing off in the afternoon are certainly watching that coverage, just learning. Little 1%, it's it makes a big difference. So going back to kind of what we're talking about, to do with your master's research and how we were applying that into a lesson, do you want to go into a little bit more detail what a typical lesson with yourself would look like versus, outdoor, indoor? What's the
I mean, I wouldn't say there is a typical lesson. It's unique to that individual, but I do spend a lot of time on the golf course. I think that's necessary. We've got all the kit, we've got all the technology where we are at the moment now as well. And again, I use that in moderation. I think anything in moderation, Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say there's a typical golf lesson, to be honest.
I'll be down and watch you teach. There's definitely nothing too run of the mill or kind of template involved there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I like to get on the golf course as much as possible.
Yeah.
Dependent on the individual. Obviously, some people need some technical help first, but
yeah.
But you came down and watched me, and we were out on the golf course loads, weren't we?
Yeah, the whole day was spent on the golf course, apart from when it got dark at night. Obviously, the last lesson of the day was indoor. How would you use? So let's talk a little bit about the constraint side of things. I know you run constraints days. A lot of them were run at Elmwood when I was involved.
Yeah.
How do you bring that into your lessons and your training? For people that don't know what constraints training is.
Well, individual lessons, I suppose it would be. Excuse me. I suppose it's better to define what a constraint is. It's essentially a boundary, yeah? It's a boundary that changes behaviour, maybe in a good way or a bad way, yeah?
Yeah.
It really depends. A technical lesson, it could be just throwing up a number there in TrackMan and say, change that number, you know, or an analogy, like using an analogy, that would be a constraint, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it really depends. And sure enough, he's hitting that beautiful draw again, indoors, warmed up, hit 10 balls. Went out on the golf course, first shot, massive slice, right?
Really?
Yeah, instantly. And it was phenomenal. But the guy had probably had a slice for about 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And basically what was happening was he was still aiming 30 odd yards left for his slice, you know?
Yeah.
So the perfectly positioned mat in the indoor area was, you know, had
kind of self-aligned with it.
Yeah, but for so long he'd hit this slice and kind of the visuals on the golf course. So there was no way he was hitting a draw from that kind of body position. Yeah. And so I got him. We did scales of like essentially 1 to 10, getting him to muck about with his aim. And he felt like he was aiming absolutely miles right, and sure enough, the draw came in. And,
yeah. It's crazy that, isn't it? You know, you just get someone from such an indoor kind of a closed environment, and then you put them outside, and it's just. I've seen many times myself. You know, doing a lesson, and on the lesson tee, we've never once had to look at alignment. Never once. You know, you're maybe say you're doing some grip stuff. You never once looked at alignment. Like you say, they're hitting it great. You got in the golf course, and the guy's aiming 2 fairways left. You know, and it's just one of those things that's.
I think for any golfer, the amount of times I see golfers and their default is it's my swing, or when you go on the golf course. Yeah. And it's like most of the time, like you're like, look, you were hitting it great on the range, so like. Before the lockdown happened, we had one guy specifically, lovely on the range, scoring the golf course. He's chunking it, fatting it, whatever. But we're on slopes like that, you know, and it's like you're not adapting to the slope and the lie. It's nothing to do with your golf swing.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say? One of the questions I've got today is it kind of ties in quite nicely to what you're saying there about people getting hung up on their golf swing. What would you say to all these people that are kind of these guys that troll YouTube? You know, we would probably be guilty of it ourselves if we were, you know, not in the golf industry and we were weekend guys playing golf. What do you think about, you know, people trying to find certain positions and maybe, you know, scrolling that Facebook or the YouTube, trying to just find that hidden secret?
I think, Murray, there's so much good information out there now. I mean, there's some really good information, but it's finding what's relevant to you. Yeah. You know. And like, I remember doing a talk a few years ago for a federation, and they talked about how they had seasons. So they're basically Scotland had seasons where they would do a lot of playing in the summer months, you know, April to October, November, and then they'd do all their technical stuff in the winter.
Right. Okay.
Like, but what I posed the question: what if somebody's coming in and they're hitting it great? You know, in November, like, do you still do technical stuff? And that why I'm using that analogy is for, you know, maybe somebody that's coming into this period and like you were maybe hitting the ball great, and is there a need to dump your head like loads of information
Exactly. Yeah. So what do you do with a player that comes in? Maybe he comes in start of November, is taking a series of lessons with you, a package of some sort. He comes in and he's flushing it. He's just, he's a good player. Say he's a 5 handicapper and he's flushing it. How would you then?
I mean, it just opens up other conversations, like use TrackMan for course management. Like variability in shots. Can you hit draws, high shots, low shots? How many shots have you got in your armory? Yes, you can hit that shot, but have you got more than like to have better players to have 2, 3, 4 shots off the tee? I'm stealing this off Altus Performance, but and Nick Faldo talked about this as well. How many weapons have you got in your locker? Faldo talked about this. He said he had three weapons, 3 fades.
Yeah,
and I know Altus Performance have talked about that a lot as well. Corey and Cameron, they test. So testing players as well for various shots that they've got off the tee.
Yes.
So, and putting that maybe under a bit of duress as well. So you can still do a little bit of the performance side over the winter as well. Is it ideal? No, but it's better than, bashing balls in the range if you're striking it well and, to the same target.
Exactly,
Trying to perfect a position. Now, don't get me wrong, Murray, I do get my hands dirty and do technical work. There is a need for that with some players.
Yeah, for sure. So, imagine that your typical weekend player works all the hours God sends him Monday to Friday, Saturdays with a family, plays golf on a Sunday, but he maybe has a Thursday night to go practice his golf. Say he has an hour and a half. Obviously, you haven't seen this person hit balls, you don't know their game, you don't know their weaknesses, but how would you kind of set up a practice session? If you could kind of put a kind of little mold on his practice session, what would you do?
A mold in his practice? To me, I would go after, in academic speak, his rate limiter. So where he can make the most gains from. Yeah. So if he's got limited time, where can we make the most gains from?
And how would you get the player to know where that is? Would you use any stats at all, Pete? Or
I do a bit. Yeah, I'm not a total geek in it, but yes, I do use stats. Yeah, I think it does add relevance to the point you're trying to make with a player sometimes as well.
Yes.
So I will use, and I do use stats packages as well. Not many. I find that most amateur golfers won't use stats packages, but that's just my. But with the better players, I use them a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the typical golfer isn't going to want to spend 25 minutes punching it around after.
Some do.
Some do.
Yeah, some do. But I would say I would just use it to back up my point about maybe why the driver is so important, hitting a little bit longer and straighter. Yeah.
So how would you say the guy 15 handicapper, like a lot of people on this joined in tonight, 15 handicapper, typical club player. How would you structure? So maybe we're talking a little bit of random and block practice. How would you kind of structure for people that don't know what that style of practice is? Maybe just highlight what that is, Pete.
And block practice is simply hitting from the same spot, trying to do the same swing over and over again to the same target. Yeah.
And then typical randomized.
Randoms basically. There's several definitions of this, but random's essentially just mixing up with different clubs. But totally random in an environment would be on the golf course, like total the most representative, right? And generally that transfers a little bit better. The more you practice can look like it. Unless you're working on technique, there's no harm sometimes in doing a little bit of block practice if you're, I suppose my definition of block practice, there's no harm in exploring movements on a driving range.
Yes.
If you've got guidelines from a coach, or I see so many, like going back to that point earlier on, I see so many people on a weekly basis see guys down a dark hole with stuff in magazines, YouTube, whatever.
Yeah.
Like experimenting, but like maybe in areas they shouldn't be. We've all had, I'm sure you can reflect on this, Murray, where we've all had a guy, again, just before lockdown, where he was cupping his wrist, he was trying to get a flat left wrist, and he had a slice, and it was like, we did exactly the opposite of what he was trying to do from YouTube. It's crazy.
It's I mean, I suppose, and they just see something, how to hit their iron shots better, and they see you got to have like a cupped wrist or straight wrist, and they kind of maybe need a little bit more of the other way of it.
Just to say though, we're probably biased though because we only see the car crashes though. So like there could be,
yeah,
yeah, there could be. There could be folk that actually that do get some decent information from YouTube.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I suppose we just see the guys that are kind of at the tail end of their last tether of YouTube and kind of just coming our way. So just to kind of, we didn't quite get that almost like that practice. How would you recommend? Obviously, you don't know what the guy's faults are, but you've alluded to driving is obviously a massive factor. What next would you spend your time on?
I mean, again, it depends on the individual. Is it golf course? Is it, at a 3 handicapper company in this isn't exactly answering your question, sorry, but in November, he asked, first time he'd come to see me, we'd talked on the phone a few times, and he said, like, what's the plan for, he's coming for half a day, and I was like, no idea. Like, it's I quoted on Mike Tyson, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face, So I just said, look, we're going to have a look at you on TrackMan, we're going to go out on the golf course, and like when we got him on TrackMan, he's basically hit it as good as a +2 handicapper. Yeah. Then we went on the golf course and it was like 25 handicapper decision making. Yeah. So for that individual, it was all around, lots of stuff on the golf course and trying to hit different flights and understanding how far his clubs go. And so for somebody with technique, I would structure it maybe where they're doing like ball sets where they're experimenting with movements and giving specific drills to do. Yes. And then I quite like using scales. So if, for example, it is a wrist movement what they're doing, I'll get them to do 1 with your old movement, 10's like crazy. The other way.
That's definitely something I stole off you from when I came down and spent the day with you.
Yeah, and like trying to find what works for that individual. Yeah, so when it's available, I'll definitely use a lot of scaling because then I like the players that I spend time with to be autonomous, be able to self-correct themselves, and on the golf course too. Yeah,
that's a big thing. I mean, I find just players knowing why the ball flies the way it does, you feel like a lot of people forget about that and they go straight to kind of technique and position rather than thinking, right, hold on, let's just get back to the basics here. My ball started right of the target and moved further right. What possibly is going wrong? What have I done in the lesson? And maybe just getting around the golf course with their BC game that day because they managed to just tweak something small like a ball position to get them round.
I think it's also going back to reinforcing that you will change from day to day as well. Like I find a lot of golfers think, oh well, I've got my X fixed, then that's it, and it's like no, like we change from day to day, and your golf swing will change from day to day. Even the best players do.
Definitely. So you talked about earlier about the challenge point. That was the kind of buzzword that came out, challenge point. How would just go back and just explain what challenge point is for some people that don't know and they've just joined this a little bit later on, and how you'd maybe the challenge point would obviously be different from your scratch player to your 20 handicapper.
I mean, quite simply, it would, a challenge point, and a principle of learning, you want the challenge point just to be beyond your performance level, right?
Yes.
Because it's just kind of that sweet spot. And obviously, it's unique to the individual. Some can handle more than others, depending on their upbringing, their education, blah, blah, blah. But you want it just beyond your current level. Too much, and then the motivation drops.
Yes.
Classic one that Tiger's dad and his first coach, Rudy Duran, did was they scaled par for him. So if it took him 4 good shots to get the green, his par would be 6 on that hole. Yeah. And then when he started scoring a little bit better or hitting the ball a little bit further, they would drop it to 5.
Yeah.
Right. And you can scale that with and Tiger talked about because he played in that way and he played in slightly shorter golf courses as well, he got used to being under par when he was young.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So it plays into the mental side of things as well, yeah?
Absolutely. So you see a lot of, you know, personally, like when I first got under par in competition, yeah, I didn't end up...
I've seen it firsthand, Pete. I've seen it firsthand. It's not good.
You've seen me under par in competition. When was that?
I think it was on the second tee or something like that, and you bottled it.
Still took your cash, though, didn't
I probably did. So yeah, it's just changing. So how would you change? So you kind of talked about how maybe a total beginner would maybe take that approach. You know, the long par fours they're playing as a par six.
Yeah, I mean, you can either take it with regards to. I'll give you another example. I prefer to give you examples. Beginner last year, I'm sure Phil won't mind me telling this story, where he joined quite an exclusive club in Edinburgh, paid a lot of money for it, complete beginner, in his late 40s, and he was joining essentially for lots of corporate stuff. He was getting asked to corporate stuff. I'm sure you get these guys as well. And the course that he'd chosen to join in particular had a balcony and, you know, the members like a little drink afterwards and a lot of people watching the first tee. And him as a beginner was completely daunting. You know, it was like, he was hating it. He was absolutely hating it. And it took me about 4 or 5 lessons to explain to him that his challenge point was just way beyond his skill level at the moment. And we just basically played little games where we went 40 yards out and said, there's 4 shots from here, and then moved them back as he did better. And kept kind of pushing him. I've got a par 3 course where we've got an 18-holer and a par 3 course where I teach now, and kept kind of pushing him back. And I remember one where he was wanting to push it further back, and 90 yards was his kind of level where he was getting 4 all the time, and he was hitting some really good shots. Good. And then we went back to 150 and all hell broke loose instantly.
Yeah.
And it's basically just coordination. Like if you, classic one, and I steal this from one of my mentors, Ian Renshaw, where like if you've got a hammer, right, in your dominant hand, try and hit a nail with it. You can do probably lots of different ways. Then try and do it with your left hand, and you'll probably do it really close to the nail. Like really,
you're right.
Close. Yeah. And that's the same with the golf swing. When you're learning something new, you'll try and control the movement, right?
Yeah.
So because your coordination's not there. Yeah. So that's essentially what you want to do when you're starting something new, is like just simplify it a little bit. Yeah. Because your coordination won't be entirely there. Yeah,
I know. Have you ever hit balls left-handed, Pete? To see what it's like?
I remember a client challenged me to it.
Yeah.
I lost the money and it didn't end well. I can barely hit the ball.
Yeah. You start thinking, like, where's my left pinky need to be? It's amazing, isn't it?
It's mental.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
Kudos to, like, I don't know if you've seen Koepka and Dustin Johnson.
That's crazy, yeah. Hits nearly 300 left-handed.
Two of me wouldn't hit 300.
I know. How would you do the challenge point? I'm not going to make any more jokes. How would you do the challenge point for the lower handicap player? So you talked about shortening the hole, extending the par for your beginner more, even just a 15 handicapper. What would you do for the better player?
Tighten the boundaries, making it longer. So going back to the short, tight golf courses we talked about in my Masters, use the Dukes quite a bit with better players because it's more representative of tour golf. So 7,600 yards. Put players off more representative tees, because it's all very well shooting 6-7 under on a 6,500 yard golf course, but that's not where you're trying to get to. Because you'll have to hit driver more. So
have you had any guys going off to Q school that you've kind of taught up and they're a wee bit overwhelmed by the kind of standard of the course or the length of the course? Or
I wouldn't say length. I would say maybe just the adaptation to different golf courses, maybe overwhelmed. Not on a length front, but I have seen a couple of times with stats when we looked at the stats, the longer approach shots are maybe not where you'd want to be, but that kind of makes sense when they've grown up on short, tight golf courses and they're rarely hitting those clubs.
Yeah. What about their ball flight? Do you think these shorter, not quirky, but these short links or short parkland courses, do you think that develops big hitters, or do you think that's totally irrelevant?
No, I think it's absolutely irrelevant. I think obviously you'll get anomalies in that, but you'll definitely. So going back to the guy we talked about earlier on about how he was about 102, 103 miles an hour, and then we got him hitting it harder. So we had to actually take him out of the environment where he was playing, and he was playing a lot of cash games with his mates, and we were seeing his speed drop a lot when he was competing a lot in the winter because he was training in shortish, tight golf courses and wind. Yeah. So we took him out of that environment and essentially said, you're not playing in the wind, under 10 miles an hour, because we're making changes here. Yeah. But specifically, he went out with three former Scottish internationalists who were older, and one guy that nearly made Walker Cup, and they hadn't seen him after he'd made the changes, and he's trying to bomb everything as far as he could, swinging a lot quicker. Yeah. And they bombarded him for 18 holes. He came on the phone to me, like dejected, bombarded him for 18 holes, saying, swing it slower, nice and easy, why are you trying to bomb it, You
hear it all the time, don't you?
Yeah, and so I said, go and go and have a beer with him, right? So he had a beer with them and said, look, this is why I'm doing it, because I'm trying to get to this level. And they were like, yeah, totally get that. And then they actually sat down and went, well, who's so this is kind of Gullin, North Berwick, all kind of short links golf courses around the east coast of Scotland. Yeah. And they could name one person that hit the ball kind of decent distance, tour length, out of about 50, 60, low handicappers. Yeah. And then they talked about their kind of county coaching and their coaching as kids and how it was all about knockdown shots and hit it. Yeah.
Which, I mean, if you're not going to move out the northeast of Scotland, I mean, you could be a world beater, if you know that knockdown shot. But
I know Cordy's not on this, but we'll tell a story about Cordy Walker, right? So Cordy Walker, he runs golf science lab, brilliant guy. So I took him up to Murray here at Cruden Bay, one of the top golf courses in Scotland. And it was about 2.5 club wind or something like that.
Yeah. He was calling it a storm. We were like, it's a draft.
It's like and how many holes in a row? So it was about 8 holes left to right wind, wasn't it? Yeah. So Cordy had grown up on a mainland USA and hit a massive high fade, didn't he? Pretty high ball speed as well. Yeah. He was screwed. I mean, it was like a fag packet in the wind, wasn't it? It was hilarious.
It was, It was. But you see him, I speak to the Cruden Bay, obviously gets a lot of international play. And you hear the caddies, just constantly talking about the guy that thinks he hits it 150 back home perfect. And they just never have to deal with 2 club wins, 3 club wins, some of these guys, unless they're on the coast. And it's crazy. Like but it's James Booth liking that comment you put up there, Petey boy. Packet in the wind. But so challenge point you talked about with the lower handicap. Obviously, just it's more not a constraint, but kind of putting demands on the player that might be greater than what the actual game expects from themselves. What kind of games? You obviously run these constraints and days. I've been along to a couple of them. You want to share maybe one of these games that people could kind of put into their own practice?
I mean, probably more relevant to even indoors at the moment or in the back garden, but there's one that I quite like that's not on the golf course, where you can do it in various different settings. But so basically you start at 1 putter length and you go back in half putter increments. So it's like 1 putter, 1.5 putters, 2 putters, right? Yeah. And ideally it'd be a different hole or different angle, different read. Yeah. And once you miss one, you have a lifeline to stay in the game. Okay. And your lifeline could be something you're working on technically with your coach, or like putting under a bit of pressure. So it'd be like a drive to a 20-yard target, or a pitch to a certain area.
Yeah.
Or you have to get them down, or a 70 or 50-foot putt you've got to hit within 3 feet. Or so if you miss, you go back in what half putter increments, so 1 putter, 1.5, 2 putters. Once you miss one, you've got a lifeline to stay in the game. So say you miss it 2 putter lengths, you've got that lifeline to stay in the game. You've got to nail that lifeline. If you don't, you go right back to the 1 putter length, right?
Yeah.
Generally what we'll do is, because you've done this before, we'll do it in groups, sometimes 12, 16 players doing this, throw in balls, throw in some cash, and it's the person to get to 5.5 putter lengths, or whatever we determine.
Yeah.
But generally, statistically, once you get up to kind of 2.5, 3 putter lengths, it's kind of the make's about 50%, and then less at that distance. So you're going to have a lot of these lifelines. I remember one pro, and he was trying to make it, and he had to hit five lifelines in a row at 5.5, and then nailed it to take the catch.
Yeah.
So he was constantly having to go back and forward. Like, it sounds easy, but it's mentally draining, that game.
See from all these guys that come to these constraints days, and obviously just the guys you teach in general, 1-to-1. If any of them, obviously, some of them are going to come back to you and say, the pressure they've felt in these constraints days or just the coaching days, if any of them reported back saying, like, that was a greater pressure than perhaps being, 3, 4, 5 under their handicap coming down the last few. Is there any kind of tales like that? You got any stories for us on that?
Yeah, I mean, you can't always training. You can try and for this sort of training, you want to try and simulate as much as possible. Is it exactly like performance? Yes and no. I like the principle of cognitive load as well. So cognitive load is you sometimes overload people on the golf course, and we're talking more elite players here now.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, because for a beginner, the golf course is enough cognitive load for, like what we talked about, that guy with like 60 people watching on the first tee. So sometimes it's giving them 2 or 3 different tasks to play with on the golf course, just so that when they train, it feels. To answer your question, yes, I have had players come back to me and say the training has helped performance massively. Like, I felt so sharp out there. Yeah.
No, that's good. So I know I've taken up a good bit of your time now. It's 45 minutes. Any more you'll probably start charging me. So I know. Have you got any?
How do you know I'm not charging you now, Murray?
Wait to see what comes through the poster. Have you got anything maybe guys could be working on? Obviously, it's not going to be a good chance for technique because no one really has the opportunity to see ball flight when they're in lockdown just now. A lot of the guys are just homebound. Anything that you would maybe recommend? I mean, I've done a lot of putting with guys, even just a couple of alignment sticks, a couple of cups, you can do gate drills, just get the ball started on line. A lot of putting stuff you can do and do some good quality work there. Centerness of strike with a couple of blue tack. People on my coach now have been kind of getting informed with that. Is there anything you would be kind of pushing them towards?
So I mean, just to give you a backstory of this as well. I mean, obviously, I don't know how many teaching pros there are in the world, but there's probably about 5,000-10,000 teaching pros in the world. Yeah. We all just got made redundant pretty much instantly. Yeah. So there's been a lot of information on social media, guys clambering, and quite rightly so, clambering to make a living. I kind of sat back and went, well, I don't want to just pound the social media with like
online lessons and
stuff like that. And I let my clients come to me. A lot of my clients were like, what can I do in the back garden? And I'm like, well, or in my flat. And I just took it back to principles. It was like, well, you can work on strike. If you look at what the best players in the world, they can call out shots. Yeah. So if we look, they can hit the ground in the right place, where they want to. They can strike it where they want to consistently. Not all the time, but yeah. They've got club face awareness. They know where the club face is. Yeah, so they can call out the shot before they've hit before they see the ball fly. And speed, they've got speed. So I created a little course on my website. It's, you go to peterarnottgolf.com. There's a course there with a couple other coaches involved as well. Got a putting coach in there, all elite, and Aaron Hopton and my boy Robbie King. And we've basically put a course together around that. And we're probably going to put some strength and conditioning stuff in there with a good mate, Si Nameby, as well. So more than happy to go and have a look at that. But I was a bit wary to put technical stuff because, again, I get my hands dirty technical, but I think a lot of the time you need to be face-to-face with somebody, or you need to have that relationship with an individual. You know, the guys that I've been coaching for a while, I'm checking in with them, making sure they're doing all the stuff that we've talked about technically before, and they're sending me stuff on Coach Now, but a bit wary to kind of put new stuff out there with regards to swing stuff, because you're not even seeing ball flight, you know.
No, exactly, yeah. There's certain exercises I've been putting out to people, and certain things they can identify, like, are they doing this? And like club face awareness drills, stuff like that, weight transfer drills. But in terms of the nitty gritty, there's nothing better seeing ball flight and just being there one-on-one. That really is king. That's pretty much everything I had to kind of talk about. Peter, thanks very much for your time and checking out. It's good chat. You know, you've obviously got plenty of stories teaching elite players and beginners. And with all your research, there's some really good nuggets there. I'm sure everyone took away from that. So yeah, you got anything to add to that?
No, mate. Thanks for having me on. Let's do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. I'll touch base with you in a couple of days, and we'll get something, maybe a part 2 set up then.
Brilliant, buddy. Right.
Okay, perfect.
Right,
catch you later. Bye bye.
Bye.